Welcome to the Lit Luz Festival. You are at the live magazine show.
We are Camila Foreman.
I'm Miguel Jimenez.
And we're your hosts for this evening.
This year's Lit Luz Festival had online events, in-person events, and we're just really happy to be back connected with audiences all over the world, Chicago, Mexico, I don't know where else.
Everywhere.
Because part of it is virtual, hybrid.
Tonight's program will move between Spanish and English, along with Sierra Zapotec and the Coasati language. The occasional piece will be read through live audio translation, which you can access via the QR code on the back of your program.
Speaking of, one of those codes will give you more information about each artist tonight. So if you scan that, they'll take you to their website and other platforms with information on them.
So this is our 8th year of the Lit Luz Festival of Language, Literature, and Art. We support the creation of new art through international collaborations, which you'll be seeing here tonight, as well as fostering essential dialogues through readings, gallery talks, panel discussions, and other events all throughout the week to sort of connect residents of Mexico and the United States.
And this year's theme is structure. Can you tell us a little bit about what that structure theme is all about, Camila?
So I feel like, honestly, the best way to show it is to throw it through what the artists are going to do. And if this year's show is just like every year for the festival, you're going to see some really unique and nuanced interpretations of the call. But just to give you a hint, the call for structure is to consider the physical structures that house us and the political and societal structures that surround us.
And we still have a few more events this week after tonight under the theme of structure. So we have Friday and Saturday left. What's going on Friday? Is that tomorrow?
Yeah.
That's tomorrow, Friday.
Time is a strange thing and defies all structure.
Yeah, what's going on tomorrow? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so tomorrow we'll start things off at noon with a virtual event called #NewLatinoBoom. And it looks at the just sort of explosion and renewed interest in literature in Spanish in the United States through greater publishing, more attention in grad programs, and more.
And then we have the book club. Lit Luz as a festival has a book club, and we have an event tomorrow.
Everybody loves book clubs.
Everybody does like book clubs. And I'm gonna maybe scorn people now. If you're not part of this book club, you have to join it.
He's the director of the book club.
I'm the director of the book club. But it's the coolest book club ever. We read the authors that come to the festival. So over the summer, we read the authors that you're gonna see tonight, along with the artists that are here tonight. So yeah, anyway, I got caught up in pitching plugging my book club, but my book club. So tomorrow at the Instituto Cervantes, we have a conversation between critically acclaimed writers Jasmina Barrera and Pergentino José. It's going to be a wonderful conversation. And you, even if you weren't in the book club, you should come, but you should join the book club.
And then what's going on Saturday?
There's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to work with Pergentino José. Pergentino José is going to be running a writing workshop, fiction writing workshop, at the Rudy Lozano Library in Pilsen. There's still some spots available, so if you know anyone who wants to write and write fiction with Pergentino José, just go to our website, Lit Luz. There's some spots available, like I said, so all the information is there to sign up.
And then we'll close things out with the killer party at the Hungry Brain, 9 p.m., featuring Algoritmo and DJ Roxio Sounds.
But tonight you're in for something really special tonight.
And so we have on deck Jasmina Barrera, an incredible writer from Mexico City.
Julieta Shung, an incredible interdisciplinary writer, artist, Chicago-based.
Rocio Cerón, a poet and multimedia artist who will be joining us on screen from Mexico.
The amazing Chicago-based poet, artist, Krista Franklin.
We also have multilingual, multi-hyphenate writer, Pergentino José from Oaxaca.
The amazing Santiago X, interdisciplinary artist, multidisciplinary artist from Chicago.
The phenomenal Daniel Monroy Cuevas, a filmmaker and artist from Mexico City.
Author of Heart of Mouth, Amanda Golva, Chicago-based novelist, short story writer.
The incredible Jordan Hicks, an architect and writer from Chicago, as well as Chantal Penalosa, a visual artist from Tijuana, and Jose Luis Montezuma, a poet from Chicago. Although, because folks, this is live theater, effectively, the part of Jose Luis we play by his understudy tonight, Joel Craig.
And providing the vibes, the good energy, the music, artists, DJ, sound, artist, everything, the incredible Jacqueline Carmen Guerrero, Coochie Fruit.
Yes. Who clearly needs no introduction, and in fact, we should just wrap up this introduction. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Wearing a brown unisex apron, the hands that pertain to the arm and the arms that belong to the shoulders, and the shoulders that weave the delicate fabric of nerves and arteries and musculature, what we call the mind or the self, or the voice that speaks to you within this system of cloud drift and gesture, assembles and then polishes a series of knives, forks, spoons, arranged on a table. Face concealed, the light stores up the color, and a wave crash of gray static freezes everything except a circumplex in atrium. The angle of repose for the eye deranges a movement where the hand and the heart hold the metal, invisible to the camera's caduceus, and its repetitions announce an unsuturing of labor from its placement.
19 de octubre del 2012, 7:05 AM, viernes, llego, digo buenos días. Afuera, la luz es nueva y la calle lleva el sonido de algunos carros. Adentro, enciendo la luz del comedor y la atmósfera se vuelve más amarilla. Contrasta con las luces que veo desde la ventana. También enciendo la radio, Radio Latina. Es la estación que me dicen que ponga en las mañanas. La cafetera ya está lista, pero sé que tal vez nadie llegue hoy. Afuera, todo es movimiento. En los árboles, en los cables de luz y en una bolsa de sabritas que pasa rodando por la calle. Son los vientos de Santa Ana que hacen que todo cobre vida.
They believed that the worst punishment imaginable was a bullshit job. A hillside does not have a job, but what does it do? The grass serenading the hillside does not have a job, so what does it do? The flies leaping into the shit-stained grass in the field do not have a job, but what do they do? The fingers dancing do not have a job, so what do they do? What is the role of a hand when the rest of the body is performing a job? What does the body know of the hand when it falls asleep on the clock? Sisyphus does not have a job, so what does he do? What did he do to deserve this? I write letters to everyone I know. A letter to my manager, a letter to my neighbor's dog, a letter to the grate at the end of the door, a letter to my primos across the border, a letter to the myopic tecolotes who patiently wait for the lighthouse to burn down, a letter to the grasses in the earth's mouth and the mushrooms and the mosses, a letter to the rust that can't sit still in the chromatisms of a chair that sits in the rain and sits still, a letter to the Pentagon in the heart of the inner country, a letter to ward off the 9 eyes of Google, a letter that represents the alchemy of consonants but never the vowels, a letter that rewards long penitence after much degradation and sweat, a letter to the bottles of salt carefully positioned to mimic coastal erosion, a letter for the left hand who writes to the right hand of what happens on the other side of the screen that divides the body from its cloud of wires and skin.
Sobre la Avenida México hay una batalla. Comienza a las 6 a.m. De un lado suena el himno nacional mexicano, del otro suena el himno nacional de Estados Unidos. El gobierno le regaló a la ciudad un reloj conmemorativo de la independencia. A ciertas horas suena una canción. A las 6 a.m. el himno nacional. A mediodía suena la viquina. A las 4 el cachanilla. Y a las 6 Cielito Lindo. La idea era que las canciones marcaran diariamente las horas de los habitantes. Un mes después de que instalaran el reloj, los de la Border Patrol comenzaron a poner el himno nacional de Estados Unidos a la misma hora, a todo volumen desde la camioneta que se estaciona todos los días en la cima de una loma para vigilar la frontera. Las vecinas dicen que es la batalla de las 6 a.m. sobre la Avenida México.
The network is a series of cameras in a closed-circuit telepathy. The television in the mind erects a structure of feeling. The network is a series of empty gestures in a black box. The border is a series of plateaus in which we intensify and speak in tongues. The network is a refraction in the glass that slices the eye open. The camera is a room inside a stanza, inside a poem, inside a box, inside a bottle. The network is a series of views of the end of the world. A view of Antwerp awash in its grime and mercury. A view of several large cranes and shipyards and maybe a crack pipe. A view of the global city. A view of merchants and tradesmen and longue durée economics and maybe a syringe. A view of a book written by Roberto Bolaño in 1980, a view of diamonds in the river Scheldt, a diamond sea, a view of not one sea, the North Sea, but many seas, a view of diamonds, hence the Diamond Sutra, a view of world systems theory, a view of Subhuti respectfully asking the Buddha if he would like Dunkin' Donuts, a view of diamonds being dunked into a pool of blood in slow motion for a music video, a view of the World Bank from the banks of Port-au-Prince, a view of the age of explorations, a view of broken factory windows because they are always broken, a view of fork-tongued white men in armor bearing contracts, a view of contractual relations in the Antwerp of the 1600s, a view of someone lying completely, utterly still in a cage, a view of several cages emptied, a view of someone else in a cage who is looking at the camera, a view of the evergreen terminally stuck in the evergreen waters of the Suez Canal from the satellites of Antwerp's business district, a view of the Evergrande liquidity price crisis from the living room of a signorin, a view of hands in vinyl gloves carefully fabricating time, one brushstroke at a time.
Pasaban avionetas muy a lo lejos haciendo piruetas en los cielos de Tecate, y cada vez que la estela aparecía, escuchaba decir a la gente, son los americanos, ya están otra vez tirando hielo para que llueva. There's something about the weather of this place.
The hand is no longer free from the organs and their conspiracy. My body, like a dandelion, grows in the crevice of someone else's vision. My tremulous soul, like a fly wavering in its inertia, can find no signal in the noise of the flesh or the poisoned air. And yet I resume my work, this aimless labor at reconstructing time. I polish the spoons and see my face in them, one after another, one after another, one after another. Dear managers of human arrangement, I am writing to report that inside the onion, all the constructs of labor rest concealed like the blade sleeping inside a knife at vanishing point. Inside the worker, assault accrues and builds up, builds up, builds up, until it spills out at the moment an onion is bladed open. Inside time are all the rudiments of labor: a worker, a rust-worn onion, a knife, all blade, glass bottles pregnant with salt and tears, and the effort to keep from vanishing.
Lo habían encomendado a subir una roca hasta la cima de una montaña, desde donde la piedra volvía a caer por su propio peso. Habían pensado que no hay castigo más terrible que el trabajo inútil. Lo único que vemos es el esfuerzo de un cuerpo para levantar la piedra y subirla por una pendiente 100 veces recorrida. El rostro crispado, la mejilla pegada a la piedra, la tensión de los brazos, la seguridad enteramente humana de 2 manos llenas de tierra. Una vez arriba, la piedra desciende al pie de la montaña, desde donde habrá de volver a subirla hasta la cima, solo para verla bajar de nuevo a la llanura. Todo su ser se dedica a no acabar nada. Gracias.
Thank you.
On the doily edge of lakeside Chicago, there is a void, gutsy and tender, not a protrusion, a holding. The void is not a problem, but an independent intimacy. During the last financial crash, they were meaning to make a Lux tower like a drill bit, a tower like smoke rising. They were meaning to make a tower and also a lot of money, but all they made was the hole. Laborers redacted 721,886 cubic feet of creamy, gray, clay-heavy earth. 721,886. The number is almost hard to say. Last summer, 2 dogs were playing in Puebla, in a farm field furrowed and ribbed bright green. We imagined the sky was blue and long and strummed with clouds. One dog was named Spay, the other Spike. It was not their intention to be trapped on the ledge of the sinkhole, which as they played, mouthed open across the green fields. There is something about the colors and the way the water did not reflect the sky, and how the military with guns stood spread-legged to deny access to the widening hole. There is something about how the dogs were rescued, but only after 4 days, and how the sinkhole saw fit to accommodate in its low, large room a white cinder block home. Its residents were evacuated prior. One week later, a third unnamed dog, white and brown and mixed breed, appeared briefly in drone surveillance footage and then never again. Maybe he got out by himself, they said. Any void is not the same void, I am saying. Even in my dreams, I sometimes cannot get to the void, have a circuitous, unending trudge toward access. Other times there is nothing to do but fall in. My ribs like an accordion expanding, a resonance inside the pleated form of my body, a resonance pushing outward into vibration. I float in its waters. There is a hole in the city at 400 North Lakeshore Drive, 400 North DuSable, 400 North Kirihawa, 400 an unnamed street, not a street at all, only land at the lip of the lake, now a spit from a quivering bridge, an accidental cistern reflecting a saline blue, a hole in the city that hides and holds nothing.
Silvestre has just turned 1, and although he already has a few words, gestures still hold sway between the two of us. He started talking a couple of months ago. His vocabulary is growing rapidly, and I know there will come a day when it overflows. At some point, our language of signs and gestures, the one with which we've come to understand each other so well, will be subdued by the equivocal empire of words. But for now, his words are few and unique. I can still list them all, and for each one of them, I can talk about shades and connotations, things you'd only notice if you were hearing them every day. At present, this is his complete vocabulary, together with some onomatopoeias that function as words.
Mamá, papá.
They say that mama and papa sound almost the same in every language. They're the syllables that are easiest to pronounce. Silvestre used to say them by accident all the time. Then that babble was charged with intention. The sounds gradually came to be linked to the two of us, and one day I was mama and Alejandro was papa. It didn't happen the first time he said them. Those words were constructed over the course of days and months. After Mama and Papa came the horse, a clicking of the tongue against the palate repeated at least twice. Silvestre had never seen a horse, had never heard a gallop. He only knew the drawings in his children's books. It makes you think maybe Plato was right, that those images conjured a horse he had known in another world, the perfect horse the drawings all sought to imitate. When he saw a real one, a pinto in Santiago de Chile, he showed neither fear nor surprise. He seemed to recognize it quite naturally and allowed the owner to pick him up and walk him alongside the mare, clicking his tongue in time with its gait.
10.
We know the last words of many public figures, but seldom their first, maybe because they don't deviate much from mama and papa. The third word, however, is critical. Sure, there's some randomness to it, but there's also already a minimum freedom of choice. So in the third word, there's something oracular, something of an omen. Silvestres was the second person imperative of the verb tener, to have, ten. Around the time when he learned to let go of objects, more of an accomplishment than you'd think, he realized that he could put them in another person's hand. He also learned that the word to accompany this transaction was ten. It very quickly became a game. Accept an object from him and almost right away give it back, always saying ten. He started using ten as a synonym for give me that, with ambiguous results. Once he began to spend time around other children, Silvestre realized that ten was a unidirectional verb, that the things you gave away were hardly ever returned to you. Because of the way he elongates the N, his ten sounds almost metallic, a copper bell. My third word was water, agua. I don't know what that means. Probably I was just thirsty. To pronounce his own name was difficult, but he found a syllable that, if repeated, gestures to the whole, tete. He uses tete to speak about himself, especially in a photo or in the mirror. He always says it at a high pitch, that first syllable even higher. In general, when he speaks to other children or refers to them, he uses that upper register, as if in imitation of a child. Although in the case of his name, I think it's more in mimicry of our excitement when we address him. It's like he gets excited to say his name too. When he was very little and crying, the only thing capable of distracting Silvestre was his father's delirious imitation of someone speaking a made-up language with arabesque inflections. Silvestre would stop crying and stare. According to Alejandro, that stare meant, I'm sad, I want to cry, but I'm stuck with an idiot father, and that's infinitely more serious. It wasn't clear if Silvestre liked or disliked the imitation, but it certainly unnerved him. And if the prattling ended, he would resume his full-throated bawling. Now, when he launches into a stammering soliloquy, there are times when he himself really seems to be speaking another language. Those soliloquies resemble the language improvised by his father.
In 1969, in a room in Massachusetts, much smaller than the one we're in now, the American composer Alvin Lucier took to a microphone and began to speak. He told us absent spectators where he was sitting in a room, what he was doing, recording the sound of his voice and playing it back, and his plan to carry out the procedure until the resonant frequencies of the room overwhelmed the sound of his words. It is not the kind of performance or script that could be characterized as rousing. You might think that the audio recorder, speakers, amplifiers, and multipliers in the room were his only audience. Each time they played back his voice, Lucier was heard again. And again, his captive audience replied to each playback by playing it back. Some might call this an exercise in narcissism. To hear his own voice repeated, amplified, and multiplied as if to orchestrate a chorus of his self-affirmation. But that wasn't his point. The more his voice met a response that repeated it, the more it became unintelligible. The room where he was sitting had made its presence heard. With each amplification of Lucier's voice, every surface and every angle in the room responded to, as if to say that his vocal insistence to affirm his presence had been met with equal resistance. Architecture, acoustical physics, and the reasons for vocalizing, these are the basic elements in Lucier's dialogue with the room. A similar scenario can be observed in the natural world. Certain species of animals, like bats, dolphins, oilbirds, and swiftlets, emit clicking sounds. These are sonic bursts meant to bounce off the surfaces of bodies and things in their vicinity. Like beacons on reconnaissance missions, their voices echo to map their environment. Each sound that returns confirms the shape of the space, the location of obstacles, and even the positions of friends and foes. To the left or the right, near and far, sooner and later. As the sounds given and received describe the staging of their survival, unlike Lucier, the intent of their calls is to transcribe the script in advance of its potential enactment. Pitch, rhythm, tone, and volume. These describe the geometries of our limitations, which also contain the possibilities for our ideas to be registered. Many of the spaces in which we speak today were constructed in another time by some other people and for purposes that some of us still believe are necessary. They are built for certain words to be said and for the ways they should be heard. And when those words resonate in their typological enclosures, we could intuitively reenact our familiar relations. But do we want to hear our stories told in these same rooms, knowing that what we've been saying will end up distorted or dissolved? What if we take apart their walls? What would we sound like?
I have a memory from when I was 4 or 5. We're in the car, my mother up front driving, and me in the back seat. From there, I call out to her and ask what the word panteón means. "It's where they bury the dead," she responds. I'd been imagining a panaderia, the wine cellar of a panaderia, maybe. I think about the possible relationship between loaves of bread and the dead, and of pan de muertos, the bread made for Day of the Dead. And then I think about how there are many words I still don't know, but one day I'll know them all. Being an adult, I thought, must mean knowing all the words. I believed that for a long time. I don't know when I realized that it was impossible, but I also never imagined what's happening now, that I would know all of someone else's. Saying you speak someone's language is always half hyperbole. There will always be words you don't share, definitions or associations that differ. But with Silvestre, right now, I do feel that we speak the same language.
body does memory reside? How many centuries has your eye seen? Whose pain moves through your wrist? Whose laughter nestles in the bottom of your left lung? How many ways has the body been played? Not just yours, your body, not just yours. Whose miscarriage of justice lives in your spleen?
Donde habita el cuerpo. La sangre toda que devuelve el campo. Tiempo, territorio, gesto, el cuerpo, noche incendiaria, lava por las luces y el padre muerto. Tiempo, el cuerpo, el canto, el gesto. Lo que define el tiempo es un sal ardiente al paso de la mujer de larga cabellera. Tiempo, el cuerpo, el gesto, el tiempo, lo que se dice dentro del agua se oculta. Esa mujer de larga cabellera, esa voz del padre muerto, ese zorzal ardiente que devuelve el canto. Tiempo, el cuerpo, el gesto. El lenguaje vuelve líquido todo secreto de familia. Mitad de lo sensible es una península que lleva entero el nombre de su rostro. El cuerpo, un gesto, líneas y memorias, surcos de paisaje vertical, lazos. El sol calienta la casa. La casa es el fuego de las palabras.
Where does the body live? A time, a territory, a guest, the blood of all that revolves around the song. Incendiary nights, clamor for the voices of the dead father. What delineated time, ardent zorzal, the pathway of powerful women? What sayings lay destitute on the mouth of water? Hidden knowledge. The twirling liquid tongue of all the family's secrets. The volition of the sensible is an island of tears. Enter the name of your face. Lineages and memory and lineages circulate the passageways of the afterlife lazily. The sun heats the house. The house is a formula of words.
Hacia los siglos, la cazadora lectora, la recolectora, la observante, una legión de voces y alientos que designan heredad, que pervive en los cantos, en la coda infinitamente repetida de lamentos y libertad, infinitamente repetida en los cantos hacia los siglos. En la cabellera de esa mujer se hilan todos los pensamientos, las renovaciones del lenguaje. En el último temblor de la madrugada se escucharán avisos presos en el camino del ojo de ese que pervive en los cantos, la coda infinitamente repetida, en las renovaciones del lenguaje, en el rabillo del ojo donde nacen nuevas ideas. Y el cuerpo de ella, sentir lo que hace cuerpo, cuerpo que da sentido ante las aguas, será nombre y apellidos en un continente de susurro. Y el ritus de la guerra será sombra. Hacia los siglos, la cazadora, la observante, una legión de voces y alientos que designan el ritus de la guerra será sombra. Territorio de bocas húmedas y saliva galopante con una brisa lentísima musita la palabra miel.
Make the sigils, lover of the chase. The recollections, the observations, a legion of voices and heredity alienated from all the designations. What are the perversions in the songs and the infinitely repetitive codes of lamentations and liberty? In the imagination of this woman, all the thoughts are born, the renovations of language. In the ultimate timbre of the madrigal, we hear listless breath, and the rabid eye is the embryo of new territories. And the body of her, sentient body, body of the sentient waters, say the names and apparitions in the sorcerer's continent. The Richter of the War of Dreams. Territories of humid mouths and galloping saliva where the slow prism musics the word fear.
Y frecuencia, escena preparada para que suceda así, espontáneamente. Cuando todo se apaga, solo queda observar. Se apaga, queda observar. La escala trófica del depredadores del viaje despeja el aire. Regularidad y frecuencia, escena preparada para que suceda así, espontáneamente. Ríos, redes donde la luz acierta, depredadores y follaje, observar. Todo se apaga. Cuando todo se apaga, solo queda observar. Despeja el aire, cascada trófica, depredadores y follaje, ríos, redes donde la luz acierta. Sigue hacia abajo, sigue observar, sigue hacia abajo, escena preparada para que suceda así espontáneamente, sigue hacia abajo, encontrarás variaciones vocales, viaje y variación de un efecto. lluvia de objetos y traves, ilusión de volver hacia el sigue hacia lluvia de objetos y traves, ilusión de volver hacia el origen. Nunca más que ilusión, solo eso, deseo del deseo del núcleo del deseo mismo, el núcleo del deseo mismo. Ríos, redes, donde la luz acierta. Cuando todo se acaba, solo queda observar. Opaca opción donde siempre arde el silencio.
Whose laughter nestles in the bottom of your left lung? Not just yours, your body, not just yours.
Zorzal, dentro del agua se oculta su rostro.
Where does the body live? A time, a territory,
Larga cabellera. Zorzal,
incendiary night. The volition of the sensible is an island of tears. Enter the name of your face.
ese silencio, ese deseo de salir. La recolectora, la
Whose
cazadora,
laughter nestles in the bottom of your left lung.
la que escucha y entiende, la que está ahí.
And the body of her, sentient body, body of the sentient waters, say the names and apparitions in the sorcerer's
La
continent.
Eva infinita, la Eva infinita del mundo.
Territories of humid mouths and galloping saliva, or slow prism music's the word.
Como tiembla la tierra,
Of lamentations and liberty.
se escucha en lo que está las voces infinitamente heladas de la madre, de la abuela, de la hija y la sucesión.
How many centuries has your eyes seen?
De la madre, de la hija, y las voces de todas las mujeres.
The same as the destitute in the mouth of water hidden. Esa voz de todas las mujeres, de todas las tribus, esa voz infinita de la abuela hilada en tu voz.
Oh,
Dubzo. Lo las yo. Sis las yo. Len las yo. Lo las yo. Plo dubial nit caokia las yedo dan las ber do bone yeskol men prie na niet tehmen le beta tehna bel do qual chona qual dubdo yawa yo li mao chanzogo royo sisyo le yo tureyo le kelio las plo dobreyo caokia lo las yo plonak las belto men quintosa men blalisna mao chanzogo saja blusa berwa blusana yati remen tiempo men toy bistoy na juan nazi holwakan tapna net ryuto lasna dozin doyet
isil ka haktum ne subay lai ihota kumalaka isa to dihanit pon nakasta to ihota kumalaka isa to isa to ya itu kalau emacha kusche fosiamen corribito naksugata siya isa pa at minta halale tupoksi coba cintu coba tupoksi isa pa isa obale itu kalbe isa pa naksugata siya isa pa okle isa olimpa Chassi Alonkachi Itisukti Ihanipa Atmita wait Alonkachi Jinto Ati Atoba Ilkafili Itasisak Alonkachi Jinto Ihotaka Komalaka Isato Alongkati Atiha Ola Alongkati Okay Ikpe Ihane Ibitala Ihane Ibitala Ihane Ibitala Ihane Ibitala Ihane
I don't even know what to say.
I know we forgot to take our masks off.
Oh, you're going to do this time?
Because we're in awe. Yeah. So we're out here just to give some thank yous. Oh, I start the thank yous.
You get to start.
Okay, we want to thank you for joining us, for being here tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you to Lee, Joelle, Frank, and the entire Logan Center crew for hosting us. Thank you all. A round of applause for them, please. Thank you also to our partners, the Mexican Consulate of Chicago, Museo Universitario del Chopo in Mexico City, and Vocalo, local radio station, for supporting us tonight. Another round of applause for them, please.
Thank you also to the National Endowment for the Arts, Illinois Humanities, Artworks Fund, Topo Chico, and to our many generous partners, grant makers, donors, and audiences like you who make this festival possible.
Yes, another round of applause. I don't know.
Especially for you.
Please visit our website, litluz.org, to find out more about the festival, the book club, and to make a donation if you wish, if you liked what you experienced tonight.
And then for our penultimate thanks, we should thank some of our staff and people backstage, who include our artistic associates, Kathleen Rooney, who's not actually backstage, Joel Craig, Esteban King, and Zespo, who helped facilitate these collaborations.
And most of all are the participants tonight who we're going to ask to come up here. So
And hopefully they will come join us on stage.
Yes, so...
And I feel like we should drag this part out, or maybe start the applause in advance.
Yes.
For these amazing dynamic performers.
So let's give it up for
Jasmina Barrera, Julieta Chung, Rosier Saron, Krista Franklin, Perentino Jose, Santiago X, Danielle Monroy Cuevas, Amanda Goldblatt, Jordan Hicks, Chantal Menalosa, Jose Luis Moctezuma, and Coochie Fruit.
Lastly, we would like for you all to join us for a few cocktails after tonight's event. Want to tell them where it's at?
Jimmy's Woodlawn Tap. Compliments of Del Maguey Single Village Mezcal. And see you tomorrow and Saturday for more Lit Luz programs. Thank you.
Thank you so much.